Hi, today's yoga class is a focus on the hamstrings. So we're going to move throughout the class today, getting in and out of poses, focusing mainly on getting deeper into those hamstrings. So I want you to work into this class, be very mindful of your back body and how and where you are feeling things, because we really want to target the back of the legs today. So we're going to move in and out, and we're going to be careful as we flow through this as well, because I definitely don't want you to tense up during the stretches, the holds, or the movements, because if you're tensing up, we're not creating progress or deepening into the back body and lengthening, which I think we're all looking to feel a really good stretch. Today, you will feel that. You're going to get nice and warm. Let's go ahead and get right to it. I will say when we start our practice, you may want to have a couple of blocks, and anytime you're working the hamstrings, you might want to have a strap nearby, because we're probably going to do some poses where we're going to need a little more room, maybe a little longer arms. Straps are awesome. So let's go ahead and come to the top of our mat. We're going to get started into a forward fold, and right away we're going to go ahead and grab the blocks. Let's go ahead and take a nice bend in the knees. I'm going to set my blocks up on the tallest height. I have kind of short arms, and I want to aim at keeping my back straight even though my knees are nice and bent. See this nice deep bend I have in my knees here. So I'm not really getting into the hamstrings at all, but I am focused on keeping the back flat. So now we're just going to wake up the legs a little bit, and we're going to straighten into the left knee, and then switch it out, straighten into the right knee. I'm keeping my back completely straight, leading with the heart center. Hands are just resting on the blocks, so I keep myself parallel with the earth, and shifting the hips back and forth as I bend and straighten the knees. Already you're going to start to feel into the back of the legs. Keep the weight forward into the foot, if you can keep it more into the ball of the foot. And then from here, we're going to bend both the knees, again, keeping the back straight. And at the same time, we're going to straighten the knees, keep the back straight, keep the weight forward, and then bend the knees. So we're squatting and then straightening the knees. Keep breathing as you move throughout the practice today. Reminder that the breath helps you open, helps you move. Right now, we're just warming up the back of those legs. From here, we're going to go ahead and take a twist. So let's go ahead and bend the right knee. Keep the left knee straight. I'm going to change my block. I'm going to lower it just slightly so I can place the right hand down. Open up with the left hand. Inhale. Exhale, we're going to switch it out. I'll move my left block so it's also a little bit lower. Bend the left knee, straighten the right, twisting and opening up to the right. Getting a nice twist and also working into the back of the legs. Let's go ahead and move with our own breath. Inhale as we twist. And then exhale, release. One more on each side. On the next lower, we're going to go ahead and straighten both knees, and we're going to hold in this half lift with our back nice and straight, our feet firmly planted onto the earth. Weight is slightly shifted forward into the balls of the feet. Inhale and exhale. From here, we're going to take a short pyramid stance. So we're going to step the left foot back, not super far like we would in a regular pyramid. It's only going to be about 2 feet back behind the right, and still the heels are on train tracks, so it's not directly behind the right foot. Again, we may want to situate our blocks. I like to have it just to the outside of my right foot, in line with my right foot. And from here, we're going to take a little variation on our pyramid stance. And you're going to bend the left knee. Maybe the left heel comes off the ground. At the same time, shifting the right foot back, and the right toes come up. The right hip also shifts back slightly as well. Keep the chest lifted and the back nice and straight. I'm going to lift my left block so you can see how my right foot looks. The toes are lifted. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and straighten out the left knee, bend into the right. So we have this really, really short runner's stance. We're just going to ease back out of that right hamstring, maybe getting a little stretch in that left calf as the heel comes down. Let's shift back again. I know the feeling of this takes a little getting used to, but we're going to bend into the left knee as we straighten the right knee. Pop those right toes up off of the ground, keeping the back flat, pushing the right heel into the mat. And then from here, we're going to release. Bend back into the right knee, straighten the left in this very, very short runner's lunge. Once more, let's try this. Bending the left knee, shifting back onto the right heel, coming into this little hamstring stretch. It's like a lifted half splits, really. And then let's release. Go ahead, bend into that right knee, straighten the left, keep the back nice and flat. From here, let's lift the left foot up and we're going to take a nice big step back. So we've widened out the stance. You can go ahead and set the blocks just to the side for now. We'll probably want them again later. Come up and then we're going to face the long side edge of the mat. So the feet are now parallel. You'll turn the toes in just slightly. We have this wide-legged stance. We're going to come into our wide-legged forward fold. Take the hands onto the hips, and from here, let's fold just halfway. Again, keeping the back nice and flat, getting a big stretch into the back of those hamstrings of the legs. And from here, we're going to go ahead and lift up. We're going to lift and lower for 5 times. You can have a small micro bend into the knees. Inhale, lift up. Slowly lower for 2. Inhale, lift. And lower for 3. Inhale, lift. Lower for 4. Inhale, up. This time we'll lower for 5 and hold at this halfway point. Again, with the back nice and flat. From here, you can still have your hands on blocks if you'd like to move your blocks directly underneath you and have the hands there to keep yourself supported. You can also grab opposite elbow and maybe start to sink the chest down closer to the earth. As you do this, we're still keeping a flat back. You're probably going to start feeling this into the back of the legs more and more. Take an inhale, lift the chest just slightly. Exhale, lower further down. Follow the wave of your breath. If you feel yourself riding the breath and rising just slightly on the inhale, maybe coming a little further down on the exhale, follow it. Use your body as a guide. On the next inhale, let's lift all the way up. We're going to go ahead and spin ourselves back, turning to the top of our mat, stepping up with that left foot, and we're going to come into that short pyramid stance again, this time on the opposite side. So let's step the right foot back about 2.5 feet or so, maybe grabbing the blocks, placing them on the outside of the left foot. And when you're ready, we're going to bend into the right knee, shift back onto the left heel so the left toes rise. You drive the left heel into the mat for a big hamstring stretch here. I'm going to lift my block so you can see how my left foot looks. It's lifted. My back right heel is lifted. And then we're going to shift forward, ease out of that, keeping the back flat, but we're going to bend into the left knee for this really, really short runner's lunge. Shifting back, lifting the left toes, coming into this lifted half splits, funky pyramid variation. And then let's bend that left knee, straighten the right. Lift up the left toes. And then shift forward. Lift the left toes. and shift forward. Very good into the runner's lunge. From your runner's lunge, you can go ahead and step the right foot to meet the left, set the blocks to the side, not too far out of reach. From here, we're going to slowly lower down to come all the way onto the mat. If you can do so without using your hands, always fun. Try to make every movement mindful when you are using your practice, and you can grow a long ways by making those spaces even in between the poses to have a purpose. From here, we're going to do a caterpillar pose or a seated forward fold. So let's start with the knees deeply bent. And you can certainly stay right here, even seated up nice and tall if you just need a little moment. Or you can start to walk the hands forward. Keep the back flat. We're pinpointing those hamstrings. And then if you want to move deeper into the hamstrings, you can look up from your pose and look at the video and notice how I'm just walking the hips backward. My legs are staying in their position, but I'm walking the hips from sit bone to straighten out the legs until I feel still comfortable enough to come forward into the stretch. Keeping my back as flat as I can. Maybe staying up a little higher, trying to avoid rounding in the back because we're focusing onto the back line of the legs and into the hamstrings. The toes are pointed up towards the ceiling. I'm actually thinking about leading with my chest forward, keeping the heart nice and proud, and breathing in my forward fold. Even though I'm calling this a fold, it still feels very lifted because of the fact that I'm trying to keep my back so flat that I'm still lifted with my heart center. When you're ready, go ahead and walk yourself back up to upright, and we're all going to lower down onto our backs on the mat. Again, moving mindfully. Maybe you start to lower without the hands. Maybe you activate into the core as you slowly lower down and finally make your way onto the mat. Now on your back with your soles of the feet flat on the mat, we're going to come into half happy baby starting on the left side. So keep the right knee bent and the right foot flat on the floor and start to draw that left knee in. Grab a hold of the left foot. Now the placement of your grab definitely depends on your body. If you need to use a strap, maybe you feel more comfortable, as I do, to have the outside edge of the foot, or perhaps to use the peace fingers and take a wrap around the big toe. From our half happy baby, we're going to work into the hamstrings. So, of course, happy baby will be more into the hips, but we want to find those hamstrings here. And we're going to go ahead and kick up with the heel, straighten the leg, and then draw the knee back down. Kicking and drawing it down. Going a few times here. Bending and straightening the leg, trying to maintain stillness in the rest of the body, using your breath to guide yourself. Continue to bend and straighten that left foot. Option for you, straightening the right leg out. Still bending and straightening the left leg. If you've gone ahead and laid the right leg flat on the earth, you're probably feeling more sensation into that back left hamstring. But we're doing some nerve flossing here. There's obviously a good deal of nerves that run down the back side of both of the legs. And they do need some coaxing, because the sensation that they feel in the back of the leg can send very big signals to the brain that may tell them to keep the leg bent and not allow yourself to go further into the stretch of your hamstring. When you're ready, we're going to go ahead and keep length into the back of that left leg. Again, you can keep a hold of the foot with the strap, or maybe take the hands to the shin. Keep the foot flexed. Start to draw the toes over the nose. And from here, we're going to take tiny little pulses. Keeping the leg straight. Pulling the toes a little closer towards the face. Maybe it's an inch. Maybe it's a millimeter. Keep the leg straight. Keep breathing. Inhale. And exhale. From here, we're going to come into a static hold. So just hold your position. Keep the leg nice and straight. Foot's flexed, pushing up with that left heel. And then finally bend the left leg. Allow it to come down to the floor with control. We're going to take a short break here in a supine Baddha Konasana. Allow the soles of the feet to come together, and the hands can just rest onto the belly. As we breathe, allow the hips to relax. Allow that left leg to relax before we move on to the other side. When you're ready, you can take both of the feet flat to the mat. Keep the left knee bent to start with. It's a great way to ease into this bending and flexing of the hamstring. So we're going to draw the right knee in. Take your hold, whatever works for you, and it could be different from one side on the other. You may need a strap on one side, the other side you may not. So from here, we're going to start in this half happy baby position, drawing the right knee into the armpit, and then we're going to start to straighten the right leg and then draw the knee back down. Again, flossing into the nerves, into the back of the right leg. Allowing some gentle movement before we go into that static stretch. If you find yourself gritting and holding and just tightening and tensing during those static stretches, you may need more movement before, some more activation prior, so that your brain doesn't send your body these signals that says, whoa, 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 we are not ready for this. Keep bending and flexing the right knee. Perhaps at this point you want to straighten the left leg out. Of course, this will make the straightening a little more challenging. I'm going to go to the point, whatever you're up for today. This is definitely always my tighter side, and perhaps it always will be. But in our practice, try to avoid thinking I have a good side and a bad side. We just aren't equal in our bodies. There's always one side that is different, and we're trying to bring it into balance. On the next extension, let's go ahead and extend the right heel up, foot flexed, the toes now drawing over the nose, and we'll go ahead and maybe grab a hold of the shin. Keep that leg nice and straight and make some tiny pulses for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll hold in our static hold. Have a slight smile on your face. Relax the muscles in the jaw, even the space in between the eyebrows. Inhale and exhale. From here, let's keep a hold of that right foot. Come back into half happy baby on this side, and then we'll draw the left leg up and join it, taking a full happy baby pose. So taking a hold of the edges of the feet. Keep the feet flexed. Think about actually pushing the feet, the heels, up towards the ceiling, but having at the same time the energy of the arms drawing the knees down towards the armpits. And by activating in this manner, you'll probably feel a connection more of the low back into the mat. Inhale and exhale. Again, we're going to go ahead and take some bending and straightening of the legs. You may want to have straps, or if you're like me, maybe change up your grip. I'm going to take a hold of my big toes. You could also have a hold of the outside edges of your shins. Find whatever works for you. And we're going to start by straightening out the left leg, keeping the right knee bent in that happy baby shape. And then let's switch it out. Bend the left knee, straighten the right. I've got a couch next to me, so I might not open quite as much, but we're going to play around in our happy baby pose, bending and straightening the left and the right. Keep it playful. If you wobble or go from side to side, just remember we're here to play in our practice. One more on each side. And then when you have completed that, we're going to open up both legs into a wide-legged opening in our happy baby. Allow the inner thighs to relax. Push into the heels and you really feel the legs light up. Maybe connect with your mat more. Inhale. And exhale. Let's go ahead and draw the knees into the chest. Go ahead and give yourself a great big hug. And when you're ready, take a hold of the backs of the thighs. We're going to roll. Come up to a seat on our mat. Cross the ankles. Push into the hands and step back into downward facing dog. Only using downward facing dog as a transition here. We're going to step the left foot up. Come in between the hands into runner's lunge. From runner's lunge, let's go ahead and shift the right knee down so it comes onto the mat. And from here, we're going to move from runner's lunge into our half splits. Hands can be on blocks. Back toes can be tucked or untucked depending on how it feels on your knee. And then from here, keeping the back flat. Remember, we want to work into the hamstrings. Shift back into your half splits on the left side. A small micro bend into that left knee may activate more into your quads. Into your hamstrings. That's where we want to feel it, okay? We don't want to have the stretch in the back of the knee. We want it in the back of the hamstrings. Let's go ahead and shift forward, ease out, come back into our runner's lunge, and then back half splits. Slight bend in the knee, lead with the heart, keep the back flat. Runner's lunge, hips sink low, push back, half splits on the left side. Once more, runner's lunge, sink back, half splits on the left. Holding here. Inhale, lift the chest slightly. Exhale, maybe lower. Really drive that left heel into the mat. When you're ready, let's shift forward. Come back through runner's lunge. Tuck the back toes. Lift. Take the left foot back into downward facing dog. Push into your hands. From here, we're going to step the right foot forward in between the hands. Lower the left knee down for your lunge. Untuck the back toes if that feels good for you. Staying here for a moment in our runner's lunge. And then we'll shift back again. Half splits now on the right side. Be mindful of where you're feeling the stretch. Keep the back nice and flat. Maybe lift the chest, come up a little higher, or use blocks under your hands if that helps you feel the stretch deep into the hamstring. Shift the right hip back. And then we're going to go ahead and come forward into our runner's lunge. Shift back into your half splits. Forward runner's lunge. Back into our half splits. Really warm into those hamstrings. You should definitely be feeling this. Coming into our lunge. And then finally, we'll come back into the half splits and hold. Keep the toes pointed up towards the ceiling. Drive that heel into the mat. Inhale. Exhale, shift forward through runner's lunge. Tuck the back toes. Push back into a downward facing dog. And then from here, we will lower the knees down towards the earth. Spin ourselves around so we come to a seat in the center of our mat. Now, a wonderful pose for hamstrings is, of course, our Janu Shirshasana, or head to knee. So we're going to extend the left knee out long, and then we're going to square up the hips so that they are facing towards that left leg. The right foot comes to the inside of that left inner thigh. And then from here, again, keeping the back straight. You can have blocks underneath the forearms if that helps you feel more supported. But continue to think about, instead of folding forward, think about leading with the chest and keeping the heart like it wants to lift up and over towards those toes. Extra bit of a challenge is even just lifting the arms. Activating into that left leg, really using the quads here. When your muscles are active and strong, they allow you to get deeper into the postures. You don't have to have your arms lifted. You can certainly have the fingertips on the floor, but we're looking for as much engagement into the back of that left leg, and then keeping the back flat. Let's inhale, come back up. Keeping the left leg out long, we're going to open up the hips. You may need to even adjust yourself somewhat so that you're facing the long edge of your mat. We're going to come into another hamstring stretch, but this time we're going to get also a nice lateral stretch as well. So we're going to go ahead and leave the left forearm down. Start to inhale the right arm up. Side stretch in our head to knee pose. Try to keep the right hip planted onto the mat. Stay lifted in the chest. Your gaze can come up towards the ceiling. You can also stay in neutral. Ride the wave of your breath as it moves through the side body. And on an inhale, let's come up through center. We're going to take that over onto the right side. So let's go ahead and extend the right leg out nice and long. Bring the left sole of the foot to meet the inside of the right thigh. Shift your sit bones so that the hips are squared and facing over that right leg. Now from here, your options only come as low until you start to feel a nice deep stretch into that hamstring. Keeping the right foot flexed, the back flat, as flat as you're able to keep it. And we're going to hold here. Options to lift the arms. Really feel yourself reaching beyond those right toes if you are. On an inhale, let's go ahead and walk ourselves back upright. We're going to come into that open hip position. So the left foot will separate from the inside of the right thigh. We'll take that side body lean here in our head to knee pose. So let's go ahead and allow the right forearm to just rest and stay at the mat. Lift the left arm up and overhead as you reach, reach, reach. Rotate the chest. Really feel this into the side body. It does not matter how low you go. It matters what you feel. On the next inhale, let's come back to an upright posture. From here, we're just going to go ahead and move ourselves so we're facing the front of our mat. And to finish out our practice in our hamstrings today, we're going to close once more in our seated forward fold. And just to see the comfort level that we now have as we come to the end of our class. So maybe you start out the posture with straight legs. Maybe you still want to start with a bent knee. Wherever you're at, find your space and start to walk yourself forward. Keep the back flat. One final stretch here in our forward fold. Keeping the back flat, maybe connecting the ribs to the top of the thighs. Perhaps walking the fingers a little bit further away. Feeling the length in the back of the legs. Enjoying this stretch. On an inhale, maybe lift the torso a little bit higher. Exhale, perhaps come a little deeper. And now let's just relax into our forward fold. So allow yourself to round into the back. Drop the head. Maybe allow the head to rest onto the legs. And breathe. Shoulders relax. Across the back. Feel the breath move through the body, unrestricted, filling all spaces. Giving yourself life. Just taking another 3 breaths here. When you're ready, on an inhale, softly walk the hands back, lifting the chest and the torso up off of the legs. Pausing as you come to staff pose. Allow the shoulders to relax away from the ears. Inhale and exhale. Blinking the eyes open if they were closed. And then when you're ready, taking the legs to a cross-legged seat. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Take a great big stretch and draw the hands down through heart center to close your practice. Thank you. I hope you really enjoyed that hamstring class today because it should feel really warm into the back of the legs, like a really delicious stretch that your body was just craving. As always, if you enjoyed this, please leave a comment below. Hit that subscribe button because there are new classes here every single week. And have a great week. Make it a good one. Bye.